Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and in this episode, we're talking about ways that powerful women chase men without realizing it. I had someone I was coaching where I called out that she was chasing this man, and she kind of got a bit defensive and was like, I don't think I chase him. And I said, what do you mean? Highlighting exactly how that works. And powerful women don't want to think that they chase, right? We want to be chased. That's the feminine way. Feminine is meant to be chased. And I don't even mean chased as in like a creepy way, but just pursued. We are the ones that are supposed to be pursued. And when that dynamic and that polarity flips, then this is what creates a toxic dynamic. Because when a woman loves a man more than he loves her, she's chasing him, and that already creates a very large mismatch in the polarity between masculine and feminine. So that's a whole other tangent, but I just wanted to plug that here before we dive in case you are one of those women that's like, I don't chase him. We're going to talk about that. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to something that I am doing that I'm really excited about. This is something that I have not offered before, and I'm excited because I want to bring you more of this juicy stuff that you can actually plug into your life and experience the dramatic shifts that women have when they come in to work with me. I want to give you a taste of it because I have all of the testimonial stories, case studies, and client successes, but unless you experience it for yourself to understand what that actually feels like when you put this no more chasing into practice and how powerful it is, you won't understand it until you get a taste of it. So I'm doing this inside Telegram from March 16th through to the 23rd, where you're going to get audio drops from me, classes, videos, extra resources, practices that you can plug in right away to step into this feminine power that no longer chases. You're no longer convincing. You're no longer fixing. You're not doing any of that anymore. And then women often will be like, well, what am I going to do? Just let him do what he wants to do. Again, you're back into the controlling as soon as you ask yourself that. I have women completely do their own 180 to break the patterns that they've been in. And that's the only way to get out of the continuous cycles is to be able to see where you are in that cycle. I'm going to do too much of a deep dive about the addictive components of this. I do this in my programs, and I am a firm believer that some women do get into emotional addictions, that emotional addictions aren't something that is in the diagnostic manuals for psychotherapy, and some psychotherapists will deny that that even exists, but there are emotional and process addictions. And I believe that for a lot of women, maybe not every woman, depends on her past, but that they're, especially when it's really, really bad, like the relationship is like really bad and she can't seem to get her way out of it. That is when there is something more going on. And that's not to blame her. It's just that the way that the addictive component works is that she is still addicted to the dynamic no matter how bad it gets. And I have learned over the years from my own experiences with a lifetime of learning about myself in these types of dynamics is that if we are too much in the overfunctioning in the masculine role, then we are very likely to end up in these mismatched situations. So again, I'm not going to go too far into this. I could go down this rabbit hole and talk about it forever. And what I am going to be doing is bringing more of this into something I have coming, where each month we're going to dive into a certain pillar of this to apply it into your own life, of how you can use these teachings and these principles to completely change your life. Now, what I want to say is that where women actually go wrong is they think that they come in to work with me just to figure out this relationship and make a decision or see if it can be changed. And while they do get clarity on that, of course, what they discover is that it radically changes every area of their life. They're recognizing that what they're doing for their career or business is not aligned anymore. They are making decisions. They're moving away, leaving where they have lived, making changes in other areas of their lives. And one thing I also want to say is we have to be very mindful that if we do have this addictive component going on, the chances are very good that you will meet someone else down the road, however long it is, a few months, a few years. It doesn't actually matter. The time does not matter. It's pattern recognition within ourselves and healing those attachment wounds within ourselves that originated from our childhoods, from our unmet needs. And if we don't deal with those, then we will think we're meeting someone completely different and end up right back into the same patterns or not be able to recognize them. And you may be able to recognize some, but it could be that some of those patterns that are still not healed, there might be some residual stuff that you may end up not in a toxic similar dynamic, but where some of your stuff is continuing to show up. So the work is never done. So this is why this is a lifestyle change to dedicate yourself to this work. It's a complete identity change that becomes just like someone that's like, I work out and I take care of my body. Well, I also stay in mentorship. I have accountability. I get outside expertise. But when I'm stuck or I feel stuck or I'm feeling stuck in an old pattern, I don't want to stay there. And so I'll find whatever it is I need to find. Just recently I did that. I found someone that I was offering coaching in an area that I was like, I need to learn more about this particular thing. And I went on there and boom, just booked it. Never met the person before. Completely shifted everything because I found her and looked more into the work and am going to be doing more work with her. So that's how it works. And I'm not just saying that because I'm like, oh, that's what we do, buy my stuff. No, of course, this is my livelihood. I see the changes this makes for women, profound life changes that this makes, like forever changes them. But I truly do 100% believe that when we step into this work, it is a lifestyle change. It's not just for 30 days. It's not for 1 year. It's something you commit to. If you're really dedicated to breaking these patterns and living a life of freedom, not just freedom from relationships that aren't working, but freedom of choice, freedom in your emotional energy, freedom in your body to love your body, and freedom from disordered eating or emotional eating or a bad or toxic relationship to your body. Freedom from people pleasing and guilt and constantly feeling badly for putting yourself first. So we're throwing all that away. To redirect, the link is in the show notes to join that upcoming series. Let's talk about the patterns that I see women getting into when they're chasing, but they don't realize it. And again, I've been there. So I'm not talking down on anyone here. I've definitely been there. And having to recognize some of my own patterning in this, it's ongoing, right? We We're never fully there. It gets easier. We're able to see it within ourselves. But if you're in a relationship that is not working and you're really having a hard time making a decision, this is going to help you, like learning this and then coming into the Lead Your Life experience that I'm teaching is going to help you. But this is going to change everything for you down the road if and when you do leave this particular relationship, because women that end up doing this work, that inevitably is what happens, whatever the time frame. You're going to want to know and see this within yourself before you even consider dating or getting into something with someone else. Because if we knew this stuff before getting into said relationships, we probably wouldn't have gone very far in them. So let's get into this. So the first is constant availability. So it's this, I'm available whenever you are, and jump whenever they jump, and you say how high, and you just make yourself so available that you give up on your own purpose, your own rituals, your own health, like your working out, your alone time, your self-care. Like you don't have to be available all the time, responding to texts immediately. Like focus in on your own life. It's like women will drop plans and completely just clear their calendar to make space. And we have to learn that that is not feminine power. Feminine power is being fulfilled in our own lives. And then we also don't make ourselves just available. And this is true in committed relationships as well. This can be a lot harder to shift when you've been the one that's always available. Jump, he says jump, you say how high. And when you start changing these things, which I'm going to go over inside of the 8-day experience. So you're going to want to get in there if you want to go deeper into these things. I'm just going to do an overview here so you can be like, yep, I think I'm guilty of that. So, you drop everything. I remember doing this with my ex a few times where it would just be like, I need you to do this or do that. And I would drop everything and it'd be my urgent thing. And then eventually I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm sorry, no, that's not going to work. So once you start doing that, yeah, they don't like it, but that's okay. You have to learn to be able to deal with the discomfort of them not liking it. So the first one is you're too available. You're just ready to drop everything and you don't have enough of your own life going on and you don't have boundaries to say no. Number 2, over-explaining your feelings or actions or boundaries, justifying and hoping that he gets it. That's another way women chase. Number 3 is checking in on him mentally or physically, obsessing over what he's doing, who he's with, what he's thinking. This is another way women chase. It's not, when I say chase, it doesn't mean you're literally running behind him, chasing him. But these are the things that we do that's absolutely crazy. Like, think about it. It's kind of unhinged. So we have to look at, okay, where am I just not emotionally well right now? We have to own it. And if you're doing all these things, you don't have enough of your own stuff going on. Number 4, initiating all contact, always being the one to start the conversations, ask to plan things or suggest time together. And that doesn't mean you don't do that, but it's the way that we do it. It's the way that it's done. When we have an insecure attachment wound from childhood, yes, it can be triggered in the now and in our adult relationships. But I also believe that that's not a fair thing to put into an adult relationship. That's where toxic dynamics come. And that's where I don't agree with this adult intimate relationship attachment stuff, that I don't think it's our partner's job to soothe our attachment wounds. We can ask for a need to be met. We can share our feelings, but in the end, it's not really up to them. And part of the healing work that I have women doing is recognizing that, yes, you want to have someone that doesn't constantly trigger your wounds, of course, but it's not really the goal. The goal is being able to heal that from within yourself. And then you become a match for someone that isn't going to trigger those things because they're not so activated. Number 5, emotional labor overload. You're carrying the weight of the relationship's success and you feel fully responsible for it. So I hear women say, that they just feel when the relationship is ending, or they're kind of at that last point on the journey of they're facing that this is actually going to end. And they will say, well, the end of this relationship is all on me. Like, I have to deal with the aftermath of this, what people think, what people say, what am I going to say to people? How am I going to explain it? It's going to come out of left field, and so is going to think this, and so is going to say that. And they take on the whole responsibility. The relationship success is not all on you. And you have to see how unhealthy that even is, that you ever thought that it was. You see, this is where some of those codependent patterns come in. And we have to learn what our role is in a relationship and what it's not. If you ever want to have a healthy relationship, you must learn what that is and what that looks like. Number 6 is forgiving too quickly. So letting that repeated abuse pattern or emotional hurt, letting it slide really quickly just to get back to connection. Like, you have this intense urge to reconnect. You're not able to sit in that space or let the distance kind of ride out or have him come toward you. You start going in for the chasing energy of going back into wanting something from him to soothe your internal angst. And so what I also see with women is this goes back to constant availability. So I work with a lot of women who have left the relationship, but they still have this tie to their ex. And so they're still giving them access to them. They're still giving them emotional access, texting them, messaging them, long conversations, meeting for this meeting and that meeting so that he can get his fix. And I say to them, how is that self-loving, right? How's that self-loving to go and give someone access to you? This might seem really foreign to you because you probably don't have a really high sense of self-esteem when it comes to relationships. You are with success and all that, but not with relationships. When you actually do get in touch with that healthy self-esteem, and this isn't about like narcissistic, arrogance. It's about, actually, I'm really valuable. My time is valuable. I have a lot of things that I'm running a home. I'm running, taking care of a mortgage, taking care of a home, taking care of my health, running a business. I've got things to do. So I'm not going to just be readily available for anything. I do very much respect my own time. So if you don't respect your own time, how do you expect someone else to respect the energy and time you give them? No. So you don't owe anyone access to you. You get to gatekeep your time and energy. And this is a foreign concept to a lot of us women, where we're told that we need to be supportive and be open and have grace and be forgiving and be nice. How's that working for you so far, right? All right, number 7 is predicting or managing his reactions. So this shows up in planning what to do or say to avoid more conflict, or to get on his good side, or get him to do something that you want him to do. And you're just trying to manage and run around his reactions. So I guess a way to really say this in another way is walking on eggshells, but this is sort of how we do it, is predicting and trying to anticipate his needs to avoid certain reactions. Number 8 is trying to fix him. This is offering advice, coaching, or emotional support in ways that feel exhausting, but they're not reciprocated. I have to admit, I've been really, really bad with this one because, I came from therapy training. I'm very focused on growth, and I'm very good at giving advice and coaching and emotional support and being resourceful and guiding people with really quick shifts. And so, of course, I think maybe this could just be a therapist kind of, I always have to take my therapist and coach hat off because it's so easy for me to go into that mode. But this can happen with even non-therapists or people that don't aren't in that kind of profession where you have so much information within your own brain from your own work that you think that it's your duty to put that into the relationship. But it's not. It's actually icky. You know, it feels gross. It really does. When you pay attention, it feels really gross to be pushing that on a man, and then you're not letting him step into whether or not he can figure that out for himself. This is over helping, right? It's doing something for someone else that they should be doing for themselves. There's a lot of coaches out there that he could be accessing. Lots. So many. Like, really, it's quite neat how many men are out there teaching men these skills, and I think it's great. So there's no shortage of this. If a man truly wants to learn, there is resources out there. You're not put on this earth to be his coach and his teacher. So permission to stop that shit now. Number 9 is internalizing his mood and feeling responsible for his emotions or his happiness, or, you know, if you've set a boundary and you feel badly for keeping that boundary or for not giving him access to you, he's a big boy. He's got to figure out his own feelings. So if you are feeling responsible for how he feels because of how you had to set a boundary, had to pull back or give an ultimatum, and now he has to sit with that repercussion, and then you feel responsible for fixing it, that is a form of chasing. Number 10 is minimizing your needs. This is where women are prioritizing his needs, putting his priorities, comfort, and ego above their own. And I know every woman does this. Every woman does pretty much all of these things. And it's a way that we have that chasing masculine energy. And like, if you look at just simply masculine traits, you will see your partner probably has none of them and you have them all. That's kind of a big awareness. And so how do you expect, like, if you look at the laws of the universe, the law of polarity, it's a law. There are two opposite sides to a pole, and we need that. So when we look at it within a relationship, too much likeness creates this stagnation or this neutrality where, you know, maybe this is you, but I know I've seen it where women can just be like ball busting, right? They're just like, they wear the pants, you can tell. And then the guy's kind of mousy and passive. Well, that's why. And that doesn't mean that you're in a relationship that's going to change him if you change you. No, it just means it will be more apparent that this is not going to change as you step more into your dominant energy. And then it makes it more likely down the road that you won't attract this same dynamic. So you do this work for you, not for him. This is really important for me to get across, that it's for you, not for him. So you're not putting his needs and feelings first. That is very masculine. It is feminine to want your needs to be cherished and put first. So if you're with a narcissistic man, that's usually what he's doing. It's all about his feelings, and he's not ever even open to considering yours and meeting your needs emotionally. Number 11, you make yourself small. So this means that you're shrinking your voice, you're holding back on opinions, you're just kind of acquiescing all the time where you don't have, and acquiescing is actually a form of being in your feminine, but there's a way that you do it that doesn't mean that you squash what you have to say or your needs or desires or feelings. That's actually not what it is. It's just that women do it in such a way that it's unhealthy for them. Instead of avoiding rocking the boat, you have to be able to express your emotions, but without trying to fix the situation. That's really his job to do. So this is just kind of giving you little nuggets right now to get you thinking about, where does this fit with me? The next is number 12 is seeking validation. That's where it shows up needing him to like you, to notice you, to prove his love, and needing this constant stream of validation and attention. And this shows up in a lot of times in emotionally addictive relationships. Well, actually, all of these things do. Not that there's anything wrong with wanting validation and words of affirmation or affection, of course, but there's a level to it that is unhealthy. And the last one is sacrificing her time and energy. So this is where you are skipping things that you enjoy or you like to do. You're ignoring your needs just so that you're available. So you might drop everything. So when I've been coaching women who are removing themselves from these relationships, that first few months is quite hard because sometimes there's still some of the back and forth going on. And so they will drop everything because he's beckoning, I want to meet. And he's showing remorse, or he says he's sorry, or he says he's in therapy and he's changing and he wants to meet. So they feel like they need to be urgently dropping everything that whatever it was that they were doing. And this is where having coaching really comes in, because I've talked so many women off of ledges into doing something totally different to break the pattern. But this is why having that kind of mentorship is really crucial. It's being able to pause and reflect and not act with urgency. You know, when we have this attachment trauma and we have this attachment hunger within us that we want met, it's never about this man actually, but it makes us go through life with this sense of urgency all the time. Like, I've got to fix this now. I've got to connect right now. I've got to have this conversation right now. I have to tell him how I feel right this minute, or I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't just like talk this out. Or they feel like they need to drop everything to give access, or he might leave. So I want to teach women how to contain themselves, like to be able to, how to explain it is like to feel like you really are the queen of your own domain, right? Like not everyone just gets open door access. And if they're not treating you right, you pull back access. And this is not about games, because there will be a part of you that knows, I don't want to keep being this open door policy with how I'm being treated. And we also have to learn, while we are in touch with our emotions, we can't always let them run the show. We have to learn how to contain our emotions while we're still allowing it to move through and allowing it to be what it is. It's just energy. We're not bleeding our emotional energy everywhere. And this is all mastery. This takes mastery. So when you are learning these things, it is shifting the relationship dynamic naturally, just energetically as a result, because you are shifting. That's how energy works. And right now you're operating on that same vibrational level because you haven't actually shifted anything on a deep level. Maybe you've changed some things. You've done the therapy, you've read books, you've done personal growth. Most women that come to me, they've done all the things and the spiritual retreats and the EMDR at nauseum. And they still are like, well, I still haven't been able to actually figure this out. This is why there's so much missing in that. I do recommend trauma therapy if you've never spoken about past traumas like abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, all that stuff from childhood. Yeah, go to therapy to initially get that worked out. But once you've already done that and you've therapized it to death and you've talked about it enough and you're still not able to move, then this is the work. It's really going deeper into the unconscious patterning, the paradigms, the beliefs underneath that, the energy, right? There's the energetic work. And as I said, it's this polarity piece. There's science behind the feminine masculine and how the polarity is necessary to have a good, healthy dynamic. And I'm very passionate about it. It's one of those things that you see a lot of people talking about online. And honestly, I'm like, oh, I love this stuff. I've been studying it for years. I think I've always loved it and been compelled toward it, but also didn't fully understand it. And then I started to apply some of those principles in a past relationship that really made sense to me. And then as I was getting into dating and not wanting to repeat patterns and wanted to learn more about what this means to be in my feminine dominant energy, I just got really obsessive with it. And this is not, I don't enjoy learning from people who are just regurgitating everything that they're hearing from TikTok. I find it annoying. I want to learn from like the old school, like Carl Jung and some of the teachers that I have been listening to and learning from they've been doing it their whole lives. And it's backed by psychology, which is one of my, obviously I love psychology. I got into counseling psychology. And that's what I want to learn, is like that depth psychology. And from people who studied this through their whole lives, not from a TikTok influencer. And so I wanted to make sure that I was embodying some of this and practicing it in my own life before I started talking about it. Because honestly, I'm like, I don't want to sound like everyone else. Should I even talk about this? It's everybody else. So many people are talking about it. It might not even be so. It's just that I see it. And I've just been feeling the pull to bring more of this into my work, because if this is something that is intriguing to you and you want to be like, oh my gosh, what is she teaching? I want more of this. Then this is more of what's going to be coming into my work. So you'll want to be inside of my spaces and inside of my programs and inside the inner circle as I'm expanding into more of these topics. So just to recap, get yourself into the free 8-day experience. This is where I'm going to teach you more of these and the actual process for shifting the dynamic, starting with you. And if you would like to get inside of the inner circle, I'll put the link in the show notes here as well. All right. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye for now.